able to determine by looking in the room if anyone had terminal cancer? Well, what if you knew someone had terminal cancer, and how would that make you feel? What would you do? In fact, what if a doctor told you you had terminal cancer, and how would that make you feel, and what would you do about it? But doctors, actually, they can't predict the time of your death, so you are given some amount of time to survive. You don't know how long, you don't know how much time you have, but all you know is that you have terminal cancer, and at some point your life will end. Well, would you end your life? Would you actually ask someone to end your own life? Would you do that? At the time that I wrote this speech, Brittany Maynard, I know you may have heard of her, she was living at the time when I wrote the speech. Since then, she's actually ended her own life, and she had terminal brain cancer. And it's very tragic. At the time when I wrote it, it was actually geared towards that. But it's okay because I've changed a little bit. The reason why actually I have credentials in this area because just simply that I'm a human being and that I believe that life has intrinsic value, it makes me very qualified and to talk about assisted suicide. The purpose of my speech is to persuade everyone here that not to believe that taking your own life is considered bravery. I do not believe that. I'm hoping to convince everyone. When you receive news that cancer is very scary, it's terrifying, it's bad enough to get that news. But to think of it where in order to avoid that pain by killing oneself and then convincing others that in bravery and that you're courageous, to me is inaccurate, it's a fallacy. And then this also suggests that what about those that don't decide to end their own lives? Once they fight through their cancer and fight to the end, does that mean they're less brave, they're less dignified? So this is what was being advocated by Miss Brittany Maynard. She was advocating that she wanted to be, in her own terms, died with dignity, as if suggesting those that died without being assisted death, that they would be considered having, less dignified. I found that extremely offensive. And what does it say in Exam? What about the patients that the fight to the bitter end? And then you can't, it's contradictory because you can't claim that those that fight for cancer are brave. Well, you can, because that's what we often do. We say they're brave, they fight for their life, they don't give up, they're very courageous. But then we have people that claim that, oh, this person's brave by committing suicide. Well, they don't call it that. That's too harsh. But the reality is, that's what it is. So you can't do both. You can't. You can't advocate for both. And that's what she was saying. And that's what I'm trying to show you, that you can't be brave and courageous by ending your life and then still be brave and courageous for sustaining your life. That's not accurate. And then what about the fact that life has intrinsic value? We don't even own our own lives. We haven't even given birth to ourselves. We claim that we should live by our own terms. But the truth is we don't live by our own terms, because if that was the case, we have a happy life, right? We'd be blissful and happy, nothing would go wrong, we'd have no illness. The truth of the matter is, the terms of death for a person with terminal cancer who decide to end their life are the terms of the doctor who have these pills. That's their terms. That's been offered to this patient. And then, like I said, we're not an accident here with no purpose and no relevance. But even Miss Maynard, she didn't believe her life with no meaning. Even she believed she was going to a better place. So the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines nihilism. It's a very hard word to say. It's the viewpoint that traditional values and beliefs are unfounded and that existence is senseless and useless. I don't believe that most of us think that way. I don't believe that we believe that we don't have no meaning, no value. I think that's important, that we need to stop telling people that insist that assisted dying is compassionate, is that they have the right to exercise. I really believe that it breaks a moral code, and it makes it too acceptable in our society. And then we need to advocate for recognizing that we have value regardless of our circumstances and despite our disease and suffering. Matt Walsh, he's a blogger and truth sayer, says it so eloquently here. So if God reached out from the depths of eternity to hand us this life of ours, how can we think it acceptable or worse, meritable to throw it out before our time is finished? Life has value. It is a thing of value. It's worth something. It's worth something beyond our feelings about it. It is beyond circumstance. It's beyond disease. It's beyond development. Beyond our life. It is value. That's Mark Walsh. Then, of course, there's the legalization of assisted suicide in some states. This is aiding and abetting this whole idea, this whole mindset that it's acceptable to euthanize life, that it becomes acceptable. And then there's another article that in the wake of Robin Williams' death, suicide, saying that it was not selfish. That even further says that people who commit suicide are just responding to depression, and they're incredibly brave, and they're unbelievably selfless. This is a deep fallacy suggesting that suicide can be a moral good, but we look deeper at what we're saying, because there's a disconnection of the individual and society, and that we all need to be concerned about. And then, not to mention the confusing message it's sending us. Here we have doctors who are sworn in to preserve life, to maintain life, sustain life at all costs. And these are the very doctors who are prescribing these pills to people to help them die. And this is completely confusing. This is completely contradicts their oath, what they've been vowed to do as a doctor. And then claiming that it's it's dignified. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Then of course there's this horrible idea that now it's taking the illegal part of it. It used to be where you can actually be charged for assisted suicide. Now that's no longer the case. It's no longer that you can actually be prosecuted for helping someone kill themselves. This, for me, is it's completely denigrating life. And then we're celebrating mercy killings, suggesting that this is the only solution, to only hope that you're going to have, so to maintain your dignity. Then there's, like I said, the mercy killings has become so normal, so commonplace in our society. And then our acceptance in our culture is that we normalize this, and we almost glorify it, suggesting that it's okay to do that. I think that's so sad. It's so tragic. It should be devastating to us. We should feel heartbreak for these people, even if we don't know them. And then to tell them, we should tell them that they are valuable. They don't need to do this. In the words of the 20th century writer C.K. Chesterton, the man who kills a man kills a man. The man who kills himself kills all men, for as far as he's concerned, he wipes out the entire world. The person in my speech today was to convince everyone that ending your own life is not considered bravery when you have terminal illness. This is a deep shift in our thinking and our culture, we applaud people in our culture that fight for their lives. That's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to encourage those to keep on going because our life has value. And because I have actually been affected by someone who has committed suicide, and some I believe most of us have been, I believe that gives me credibility to talk about the subject. It affects all of us. We're all together. We're tied together as human beings here on this earth. And sadly, we did not tell Ms. Brittany Maynard these things. If you recall, from what I've read, some of the things that we were telling her that she was brave and dignified. I don't know about you, but I just didn't see anyone saying, no, don't do it. You're beautiful. Your life still has value. And you know what? You're no less dignified because you don't die from this disease. And she ended her life, I think it was November the 1st. And anyway, so that's how I want to end it, because I had to change it. Anyway, what saddens me most of all is that we embrace this decision. We didn't feel the tragedy of it, and it's so extremely tragic. And what I hope that she would have done, that she would have changed her mind like many others and choose life, because after all, that's what we've been given.